Okay, this is my 5th live stream, and this is where I'm coding my GPT based VS Code extension, and I'm also learning extension development along the way. So hopefully this will be good as a log and also to anyone who stumbles upon it. So today I'm going to be trying to tackle a couple of issues that I have opened on my GitHub repo, namely streaming the response from OpenAI instead of waiting for the entire response to come back, and exploring webviews for output. So to begin with, let me quickly show a demo of the extension. So if I have any file open in VS Code where the language is set, this is also something I need to possibly fix. What I can do is I can basically use my extension, which is called Vortex, to generate, edit, or review code. So I'll start with generating code. What I can do is I can say function to maybe return the mean of odd numbers in a list, since this is just an example. So you can see a processing indicator here, and in a short while you get the function that's completely generated. This is using GPT in the backend. So I can also edit the code. So if I don't select any code snippet, then it uses all the text in the file, the currently open editor by default. So what I'm going to say is make it I'm going to say updated for even numbers instead of odd. Let's see if that works. Yes, and you can see that it's edited the code inline to change the logic to use even numbers instead of odd numbers to calculate the same mean that I had asked for. And of course, I can also use the review code functionality. What this currently does is open a kind of sidebar, but it actually opens another file inside of the editor, inside which the output review is present. Now there are two problems in this. One is you can see that it took quite a while for the review to actually get generated because there are a lot more tokens here than the code itself on the left. So one thing is it would be great if we could stream the response, because then the user would not need to wait for the entire output to render. So that is the first step, which I'm going to be exploring now. And the second thing is to display this in a sort of web view, maybe which takes up half of the space that this view is currently taking over here on the right. The reason is because I believe Webviews can be easily customized for UI and UX, because it's easier to style a web view than just print some plain markdown here. So currently you can see that this is actually also a hack. So what I do is I first open a file which is a .md file. I have engineered the prompt that I sent to OpenAI to actually return a markdown file, and then what I do is I use VS Code's markdown preview command to automatically open the formatted markdown here. So while this is a hack, all this can be avoided if I move it to a web view possibly. I'm not sure how the UI would look yet, but I would like to experiment and find out. So that's what this stream is going to be about. So to begin with, what I'm going to do is I'm going to experiment with streaming the output. So let's see the place where we actually generate code. As you can see, we have a prompt here, and then I open a progress indicator inside which I use the OpenAI client that I built to get some sort of response. Now the thing is, this just makes an API call to the create shared completion endpoint, and wait till gets the response and returns the data. So what I can maybe do is I'll create another get streamed response function over here, which can possibly hit a callback. And I also had this search before on Stack Overflow, and I can see an implementation here which seems to work. So the idea is to have a prompt or any parameters that you want and a callback function, and in the place where you call the create completion or create chat completion function of the SDK, what you do is you also pass in the response type as a stream. So what this will allow us to do is it will allow us to add a listener data listener on the stream, and we'll be able to parse the output and possibly do something with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this, and instead of actually issuing a callback, I'm going to just maybe console log it so that we can see if it's working at all. So all right, to begin with, so let me just quickly code up a get streaming response function, which takes in a prompt as input. So it's actually going to be pretty similar to the function above here. And so why don't I just copy and paste this for now. So I'm just going to update the log here to say making a streaming request, and maybe I'll make this logger.info, and we have a timeout, and I believe the response type is a stream. And what this should allow us to do is, and this is the place where we need to add listener and parse the data events. Let's see what we can do here. This is the portion of code that we are interested in. We're just going to paste that and adapt it to our implementation. Let's see. So it says completion here, which actually makes sense. Why do I even call this response? Okay, let's make this completion. Okay. Okay, so if you have an Axios response, so maybe we should not be so what this says is on does not exist on create chat completion response. So let me actually go into the implementation. See that this is actually an Axios response. Then there's an interface on top of that. So this seems to be the first roadblock, but it should be something that's easily solved. Maybe it's not able to figure out that actually it's of type Axios response. It's actually this is Axios response, and this is Axios response dot data. And let's actually, why not quickly search for that. What would be great is if I could look at what GPT or ChatGPT has to say about that error inside of VS Code, which is exactly what we are trying to build right now. Because if I have a web view here, then what I'll do is I'll just kind of embed all the features of ChatGPT inside of that. Let me see, am I still streaming? Because it kind of seems to show me that my network is out. Okay, I'm still connected. So moving on. See. We have an Axios response. Let's see how Axios response and streams work together. Axios response data property. Okay. Oh, it says it's response.data.pipe, but I actually don't want to pipe the data. Depends on what pipe actually does. This response type is actually text. This says that the options are the options include stream, but it really doesn't say what it is. Would it help if I added an interface for data? Actually, don't think so. Let's look at the response schema. Data is the response that was provided by the server. That's all it says actually. And you see, is it possible to post a response type stream? The response type is a stream. Doesn't appear to be possible to stream results with Axios on the client side. Fetch may be the only option. That is tricky because the answer I see on Stack Overflow says that this is the OpenAI API, which is the same SDK that I'm using, and he is able to get this. Maybe the create completion endpoint supports it. Oh, what happens if I make this? Possibly have to set this to. Oh, not sure if create chat completion takes that parameter. Let's look at this. Messages, temperature, and yes, we do have a stream option inside this. Let's see what happens if I apply. Maybe the output type changes based on the parameter that we pass. Changing this in the wrong place. Need to change it in my new implementation. This becomes true. This is still an Axios response. Maybe what I need to do is pick this and this is weird because there is an answer where the person has said that you need to set both stream and response type. I'm sure about this. This answer seems to be slightly old, so I'm not sure if this still applies. Oh, okay. Maybe not. And actually, oh, this person says you have to use Node v18. Why did I miss this? This was right here in front of me. Okay, so let me see what I'm using. Am I using 16? Oh yeah, 16. And not sure if I'm using N or PM. Okay, so I have N. I'm just going to See, so that did not work. I think I have to. I don't think this is actually best practice. I shouldn't be running this with sudo, but whatever, in the interest of time. Oh, I believe there was some problem attempting to install Node 18. Okay. Fine, I'll go ahead and figure it out. Stack Overflow. Okay, this guy is saying basically remove it and do it again. Do I have NVM? Don't have it. Maybe NVM is the way to go. Sure, but do this. Install a Node version that is compatible with your operating system. No, that can't be it. Let me actually try NVM. Okay, use this. Okay, so the thing is, I think I also already have NVM installed. What happens if I just, apparently if I open a new terminal. Okay, so I do have NVM and NVM ls. Install LTS. Does that install the latest? Let me quickly check that. Use install. Listing versions and term support. So let's do this. So install --LTS is going to possibly install the latest long-term support version. Let's try that. Actually, that did not solve it. So maybe I should just actually uninstall. So let me see if this is to uninstall NVM itself, which I'm not keen on doing right now. What am I doing? This node v18. Okay, I think it's -O or -A, is it? Yeah. Okay, I'm on 18.04. So basically it's asking me to upgrade my Ubuntu version. That can't be it. Does this mean that I can't do this if I don't have node 18? That just seems weird. Response.data.map. Okay, let me see if there should be other solutions which don't rely on a specific node version. But that's a shame because this would have been straightforward. The thing is, look at the type of data. It's Axios response. So the here is also a solution that uses TypeScript. So let me see if solution here is at least independent of node version. So here, so this uses the fetch API, but this is hitting the backend. So there should be some backend code here. Yes. Oh, so they have a library that can parse servers and events. Okay. And here, this does actually use the fetch API. That was what the other person was talking about, that you currently can't do this with Axios. I wouldn't want to update my Ubuntu version on the stream right now. I mean my live stream, not this one. So see, there is a controller. So this is properly designed, I would say. Maybe even over-engineered for my use case. Let's see. Oh, I'm still confused. So is node 18 not available on my version of Ubuntu? So node 18 on Ubuntu 18.04 actually. Oh, this is the same error. This message comes during the installation process, asking us to okay. So it does seem that node 18 and Ubuntu 18 are not compatible. So this should be fixed by upgrading my Ubuntu version, but I won't do that right now. we could potentially use the fetch API, in which we use server sent events to capture the response and there is a library as well. Let me explore a couple more solutions before I take a decision. Okay, this repo no longer exists. Wait, what was that? There was a get chat completion streaming method that okay. Okay, so we have multiple sources now. Let me see if there's something we can do. Okay, this creates an event source. Okay, this is actually a Flask API. But it seems to be just straightforward. It just yields. Okay. Let's look at the yes. Okay, so we can do this apparently. So we have response, which is create completion, and then response. Then this still does response data.on. Okay. Okay. Is set stream to true in the payload. Consuming this using a node backend. Apparently I can do this. Set stream to true. Then this an event source parser, and then it's saying okay. Okay, so let me actually try this solution because it seems to work. So first install the event source parser. This handles parsing of the event source chunks, all right. So not sure why the Python playground was activated. I think it's minus save, I'm not sure. Okay, let's quickly check. JSON. Now a couple of changes over here. Don't know what the change. Back to this. Okay, so I have event source parser as a dependency now. So let me quickly go ahead and make the changes here. So we have a response, which I believe is an Axios response. And let me see if I can run it through this. Here we don't have response right now, so I'm just going to call it completion. So dot body does not exist on type Axios response. Maybe this is just data. Is there a data dot body? Because problem is because this thinks that it's a create that completion response. Pretty sure that this is just a type validation thing. Still. See what we can actually completion. Completion is type Axios response. We have headers, we have request, status text. How do I get the body here? See what pipe through. This only comes in a readable stream, so basically I need to figure out how to convert this into a readable stream. Okay, it still says response dot. What I can do is dot data dot pipe. That if the response type was a stream, then technically should be able to pipe it. The thing is, it's not acceptable on create chat completion response. Okay. This was kind of a bummer. Okay, this was a good find. The problem is, means I'm stuck. Will update my node version. I'm pretty sure that's some kind of hack, but if I want clean implementation, then I need to do this upgrade. Okay, so anyway, what I'm going to do is that was a huge waste of time, I would say. I hope someone finds this useful because I'm going to log this finding somewhere. For now, I'm going to just revert the changes that I did. So I should actually do a yarn remove. I think it's yarn remove, not sure. Source passes. Okay. Okay, so now that we are back to our ground zero, I would like to at least explore and figure out if I can set some output in a web view. That would be interesting. So let me for now close everything related to streaming responses. Let's code web views. Really need to look at the WebView API. How did I miss that again? Yes. What I need to do here is, if I want to show a web view, that is, I need to use the create web panel command to create the web view. So let me actually try that. What I'm going to do is, let's do that. I can maybe add a dummy command to test web views, maybe. Or for now, let me override what generate code currently does. So instead of getting a generate description and then actually generating the code, what I'm going to do is override this, say testing web views here, and this is where I'm going to actually open the web view. Let's put this here. We're not using panel right now. That's all right. And I believe I can remove a bunch of these comments. It says cat coding. It is title of the panel, hidden the type of the web view options. All right, I don't need these anytime soon, so let's go ahead, change this to Vortex. This is also of type Vortex output, maybe. Go ahead, run build. Oh, this is possibly because my node version was messed up. Let's move it back to 19.19.1. Okay, now if I actually run build, it should be fine. Okay, is this still? Should I close the terminal? Let's try it again. How do I tell Jan that I'm actually using Node version 16? Let's do this. Oh, it's actually using 8. That is absolutely weird. Maybe VS Code needs a reload. Anyway, so I'm running my development host now. It failed, did it? There was something I saw in my... That's all right, so let me try this anyway. So if I do generate code, okay, it did open a web view, so this is running fine. And now let's go ahead and test something else here. So view column dot, I think it's beside. If I do beside, it's actually supposed to open up Okay, so it took a while for the extension to become active, but once it did it, it actually opened it up. I believe I can customize some things about the size of the web view as well, but possibly more on that later. So I'm just going to follow along with the tutorial here. Okay, so I set the view panel, and now I can do panel.webview.html equals, and then just set the HTML to whatever I want. Okay, now ideally what I would want to do is have some sort of function which updates the web view somewhere. I believe I should be able to get a web view panel using the first argument here. The view okay, the view type is something internal. Identifies the type of the web view panel. So possibly that's an ID or something I can use to look up a web view. Pressure focus and all right. So I will get to that. So now what I need is, as soon as some response comes, what I want to do is maybe inside generate code, I pass in the web view web view panel, and generate code sets it. Either that, or I revert back to the kind of setup where, no, actually that doesn't make sense. What I'm just going to do is let it generate, and when that's done generating, right now what it does is just this kind of edit over here. So instead of doing this, I'm just going to do, let me close this for now. I will also take in VS Code WebView panel. I'm going to say panel.webview.html equals, let's set some HTML here. And right now I'm just testing WebViews, so I'm just gonna hack a lot of things. This is fine. And you don't need an image source, you just need to generated code. Okay, I think this looks good. Let me look at extension. Okay, I need to pass in the panel and VS sorted. Reloading the development host. Let's wait for the Vortex is active. Okay, close this. I do generate code. It actually opens the web view up first, which is kind of bad UX, but all right. Okay, to calculate median of a list of numbers. Okay, so we do have some output here. We will obviously need to format that better, much better to be honest. But now I'm able to interact with the web view, and that's good to see. So maybe I can use this for the entering the review. Let's actually move this code below into the review panel. Here have a panel. I don't have a panel here anymore, and here I'm gonna revert this back to what it was. Maybe I should just revert, but I'm going to take this, put it inside my text. this becomes review text. Now I need a web view reference over here, so I'm just going to take panel, web view panel. So when I call review code, I need to pass in the panel from here. I'm not sure if this is really good practice because the review code function doesn't need to know where to output it. So that should have been a change that I did in the previous refactor itself, but I'm going to take this up in an upcoming session, I guess. And anyway, so let's see how Markdown actually gets rendered. What I'm going to do is need some code to review. Need some util function. Okay, let's just take this, reload the development host, close the extra web view. Do is put this. I actually have a shortcut. Just J-R. You can see it's processing. It should ideally dump the response over here on the right. And this, as I mentioned before, is exactly why I would like to stream the response, because I don't want the user to wait this long. As you can see, it's dumped the response over here, but now I need to start thinking about formatting it. Let's see. This is updating WebView content, where I can just possibly side update. Right now it just overwrites the entire HTML, but I don't think you need to do that. Okay, we can also programmatically close web views. Now this is fine. Also programmatically bring a web view to the foreground by calling reveal, and you can set a target view column. Okay, ignore all this for now. Well, there is clearly a lot to go through. Looking for something specific. Okay, you can theme the content as well. And I believe they are loading this through a CSS file somewhere. Okay, so you can run JavaScript inside WebViews, but you need to enable scripts for that to happen. And let's see. Okay, so this basically embeds some script inside of the HTML itself. Don't need this right now, but I can send data to WebViews using webview.postMessage. So what I can do is, every time I post a message to the WebView, maybe I just append the content. and I can also add an event listener, which will basically pass the event, and based on that it's going to render the data. So maybe if I need to render a horizontal line over here, or if I need to render a different type of content, then I pass in that context in from the extension. And we can also pass in messages from the WebView to an extension. This will be really useful if we want to do something else. For example, let's say I get an updated piece of code somewhere here. Now I could possibly have a button inside the WebView which says accept this change, and when the user clicks on it, then I just replace the old code with the updated code, something like that. Right now the problem just seems to be if I have a WebView already open, then I shouldn't be rewriting data. But let's see what actually happens if I do that. So now I do have a WebView open. I'm just going to take some random piece of code here, then put it to review. So you see, the thing is, we actually open another WebView as soon as the command is initiated. So this is what I think I need to do first. First, I need to figure out if there is already a WebView open and not open up a new tab if already there. So you see, so that should possibly come in passing messages inside a WebView. From an extension to a WebView, I do webview.postMessage. So panel.webview.postMessage, I guess. Yes. So what we can do is I can pass in any JSON serializable data, and then here message equals event.data, and then you can just pick any key that you pass. Okay, this is good. So what I'm going to first do is I'm going to not create a new panel if it already exists. This is a good place to also use a singleton, where I have a wrapper around VS Code's WebView, and all I do is I call functions like append data, append code, stuff like that, and takes care of the formatting for me. Let me go ahead and create that actually. So I'm just gonna let's call this output view. Lack of a good name, I'm just gonna call this Vortex WebView or something. Singleton as I actually need a wrapper around panel, or do I need a wrapper around the WebView? Let me actually call it Vortex panel. That seems to then be a Vortex output panel. Okay. I'm not sure what it's going to interpret from that, but let's give it a shot. This might actually time out. I mean, the timeout I have kept is actually you see debug console or output. Not sure why it still shows that the unrun watch failed, because it's actually running. I know for a fact that it's running. Yeah, so the timeout actually exceeded. So let me actually give it an easier prompt. Singleton Vortex output panel class, which is a wrap around this code panel, just the panel. This be better. I'm hoping it doesn't take more than 20 seconds to complete. Okay. Just need to add this import. Sorry. Here's what I'm trying. I'm trying to open the. There are no quick fixes available. Should fix it. Panel doesn't have initial. So here is where we are going to use that panel. So wherever I need to work with the panel, I just do a get instance, which is going to give me a Vortex output panel. But then I'm going to have a method here, which is going to be, let's start with set content. And content be of type string for now. It's not going to return anything. And it's just going to do I get to do this dot webview dot equals let's move this set as soon as you activate and export this. Now that takes care of the input, and I'm going to just say equals dot get instance, and it should be enough. Now what I'm going to do is wherever we want always going to be of type Vortex output panel, not a normal panel. And here to do this is actually going to be weird right now. Actually we don't do this. That is the entire reason we created the which for some reason so yeah, what am I doing? I actually don't need a reference to Vortex output panel, because when you do a get instance, thing is I don't do a get instance. It's actually just going to initialize Vortex output panel at this point, and after that I don't need a reference to it really. Let me actually go ahead and do this. Okay. Set content, and that means this is just unused. And that means I can remove the unused import. Okay, this is display. Put the previous is where I used to display. I don't need to pass this in anymore. Let's see. So this is going to do a review and then set it in the output panel. Okay, let's see how this works. Please reload the window. Currently there's nothing. Vortex should become active shortly. Go to secret storage interface and take this here. So the thing is, when I do initialize, when I do a get instance over here, actually will create a new panel. Okay, so this does a create and show. Maybe there is a way to just create a panel but not show it. See. Show options, view column. Create webview planner. Deserialize webview panel. Okay, so it looks like I'm stuck with creating a webview panel. So let me see what options I have. So this is show options. Takes in a view column or one of these. Get webview panel options. Main content when hidden. This. View options, enable scripts, enable forms, source rows, port mapping. Okay, so looks like it does look like as soon as create an instance, it's going to do this. So happen. I do not do this. I think I have to do this maybe. Again, not really sure if this is best practice, but this should work for now. Let me go ahead and reload the extension. Vortex should become active now, but not open up the web view. Okay, so far so good. And if I was to take some random function, I'll take this and say this, and when it sets the response, it should actually open up the web view. I should actually just try setting it to some dummy content, and there it is. So we do have the response here right now, which means we have a good interface where I can now interact with the web view. Now this just does set content. Let me also have a append content, which is going to do this. That should be all that's required actually. This is a string, so equals. But the thing is, this actually contains the HTML as well. I need some way to actually format the content. Now the thing is, set content should not, I believe it should not pass in the entire HTML. It should just pass in the text that needs to be set. And then the Vortex output panel figures it out. So let me actually go ahead and rename this quickly. Now that the Vortex output panel has a clean interface, needs to be able to figure out what to do when some new content comes in the form of a string. So what I'll do is have a private get HTML maybe. See what this does. This basically says get view content, and it does a post message from here. Does it do that when the command is invoked? Okay, there is a counter here. We are setting the content inside of this. So what we can do is we can actually have a set content function inside of the HTML itself, and all I do is I just post a message. Okay, I can do that. So I need a way to initialize the content to begin with. I think when I instantiate the web view, the HTML will just be blank. At this point, I need to actually set with the default HTML, which could possibly have a title of sorts at the top. Anyway, come to that later. Here happens if I just split at new lines and render this. I think if I'm able to get decent formatting here, then that would be good enough for this session. That's what I'm going to target. So let's see, what am I doing again? So we get instance, we set content here, but thing is, this is HTML content we're talking about, and the functions that are going to call this are not going to pass in HTML. So this is actually going to post a message to the HTML. Let's say have a private content, the content with a listener. This now let me actually put this in a HTML file, have it formatted, then and work with this. So let's see. So this is going to be, it's just going to be Vortex. I don't need any measure here. Says lines of code counter. I don't need this. Okay. Output. Maybe make this a h2. I don't want it to be too big. Okay, and now the script, the interesting stuff starts here. So let's look at the part where we handle the message which we receive. So as soon as we receive a message, we do event.data. This is the JSON data that our extension sent, and why not just call this data, and this is going to be set. I'm going to say for this, what was the HTML which I had hard coded? Okay, I don't have the page over here. If review code, just dump it in the body right now, which is actually fine. So let me have a paragraph id equals call it main content. I don't need any of these. What I'm gonna do is case set text content equals actually, now that I think of it, this it's possibly going to be better if I just call this message, because that will help me distinguish it from data. Event.data. Okay, I don't actually want to do switch the message.command, and this is going to be message.data. Let's break here. Press save by mistake. Let's format this. Okay, so let's see what's going to happen. So we are going to get a message from the extension which is going to contain something called a command and then the data. So if it's going to be a set, then we are just going to just replace the text content here inside main content. Let's see what we can do if it's so the other option I wanted to explore was append. Say append content here, I just say plus equals. This should be good enough. Let's format this. I'm gonna just take this and put this as the this is the initial HTML that we'll be using. We set that for here. Actually return this. Equals this dot get init HTML, and this should be so our set content is no longer going to do this. What we're going to do here is we are going to send a message to the extension. So sorry, the web view, and that way that we are going to do that is by just saying view dot post message dot post message, which is going to be, we need command and data. Command is going to be set, data is going to be the content. Actually, why didn't I just call it content over that? That's fine, I'll get to it. And here it's going to be update. Let's see what I'm doing here. They set content. And here actually pass in text. Don't need any of this. The problem with this is that the review takes quite some time to come. I mean, the response. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do this inside generate itself, because I can ask it to generate a relatively small piece of code. It's faster for me to test. I could actually just create I don't even need to hit OpenAI to do this. I just want to test it end to end. So let me quickly go ahead and see how this looks. I haven't tested anything in a while. Load all of this. Okay, it's detected this as a Python file. Let's generate sum of numbers. Okay. I did say set content, so that would have done the HTML to this. And then I post a message where it's command and then data. At the email here, and event listener, which takes in the message. If the command is set, then set the content data. So I believe this is because I possibly haven't enabled scripts yet. Scripts is true. I'm just gonna reload and try that again. Now the problem is I see that this webview still remains. I'll have to figure out a way to not have that, but that is possibly only in the development host. Actually didn't type that properly, but okay, GPT passed it fine, and you can see I have the output here. Great, this looks good. Now let me quickly go back and see how I can format code in HTML. So right now, I'm pretty sure the append command is also going to work. It's just that it's not going to be formatted very nicely. What if okay, the raw string which I get from OpenAI is going to be not formatted really, but it's going to have all the white space and /ins and whatever is required to actually format it. Let me see if there is a way I can format code in HTML. So I can actually put in markdown. That's interesting. text formatting code, display formatted code in HTML. I think I forgot programming. Basically wrapping your HTML markup inside of pre-tags, then you'd use HTML entities to show the special characters. Also using a JavaScript framework for that. Okay. Convert the code snippet into HTML entities. There should be a library that can do that. npm code we need a HTML. That's a HTML to text. Let me see what the mark tag can do. If it can directly render markdown. So if I put something inside of a mark tag, okay, this is actually highlighting. It's not markdown. I'm pretty sure I'm kind of going about this the wrong way. Do I need it to be in markdown? So the thing is, I don't need it to be in markdown. I just need the code to be formatted properly. So let me rethink this. So I'm going to actually logger.debug. We actually do say received response content. So I'm just going to change this to info. This is actually what we know. Exactly the raw string that we received from OpenAI. And going here, I'm gonna reload this, and once again go here, create something, function to calculate all I want. Oh. Right. Let's look at the raw response. It was not sure why it's not logging it here. This is an old file. I don't know why. Maybe I need to restart the server. Reverse of a string. Okay. Info logs need to come here actually. Back to Vortex. This is weird. Why am I not getting the info logs over here? I was getting them sometime back. And I am doing a logger.info here, which is going to enter our content. Or I can just, for the moment, just do a console log. Same content. Don't know it's actually reloading because of the error message I see there. It possibly just reload VS Code once. Do that after this. Yeah, I do think the problem is because Yarn and watch is kind of failing. Because all of this restart. Currently building. Hopefully this time I don't get any errors. Okay, everything looks good. Let's try. Maybe I should just say function to reverse a string. There is no entry for Vortex over here, which is the problem. That means I can't see the logs that I'm supposed to see. Means it's not logging anything. I did make the change here. Get response, which is the function that I'm using everywhere, so I should be seeing this log somewhere. Why do I not see? Is it called main? No. with something else. Let me actually do something. Just try this again. Showing Z. Okay, was some weird filter over here, and you can see the console is also actually kind of formatting the response. It's not printing the non-formatted raw response. If I put that inside of it, let's do this. Okay, should have JSON stringified that. My bad. Always miss this. There is some mismatching parenthesis here, I believe. Okay, we have this backticks. This 5. This should be fine. Okay. All right, so you see it actually adds a /n over here. So all I need to do is just split by /n the content I receive in the raw response. The output panel, should the output panel be in charge of figuring out if this contains /n or not? So the thing is, even if it did contain a /n, why did it not insert a /n there? And that's because in HTML it's not /n. Why did it not insert it in a new line? Because that's what we received over here. What's happening is, I believe, put it inside HTML, you need to escape it, something. This will ER tag. Can I have a span? You can do it in CSS by setting the white space at pre-line value. Line break and tabs pre-wrap. Okay, let's try this. So actually I can put a span over here. Put panel HTML. Let's go and actually make this a span. And then I'm going to say style. Not a kind of ticked. just to be sure, have this formatted separately. Don't know why it still thinks TypeScript. Okay, was formatted perfectly already. Go and try this now. String. Okay, getting closer. So what I need here is to tell it that also has to preserve the spaces. But let's see what happens if I set pre-wrap. It's going to experiment with that. I think it takes quite a while to activate the extension. I figure out a faster way. Oh, okay. Webview was disposed. Actually sort of need to handle that. I had read that in the documentation. So wait till the extension is active. Okay, so that seems to be actually much better. And all I need to actually do is maybe put some sort of background to this and format the code, right? And I'm pretty sure there are some code formatters available online. With that in place, I should be able to just start outputting code here, also including reviews. Right, so let me actually see how a review looks like. If I use this over here, then I for a review. I'm actually using keyboard shortcuts, so not able to see exactly typing the command or something. Oh, the review still opens it in a review.md. I forgot completely what's happening. The output got cleared somehow. You see what's happening over there. Vortex. This shows all of these. And reload the window. This is hopefully my last test. A review. Okay, so it does output it in the manner we want. So all I need to do is fix a bunch of formatting and this is going to look much better. Anyway, so I guess I'll work on the formatting in the next session. Right now, what I'm going to do is the helper that I've set up, the output panel helper, seems to be working fine, and that is a good utility which I can use. So in the next session, I will figure out how to format, and hopefully by then I also have Node version 18 set up, which will allow me to easily start streaming responses from OpenAI, and that should be much more exciting. So let me just go ahead and push this for now. Going to make any changes to Vortex itself, work the same way it does, which means there are no changes in this file technically, but all of them. Move this. Let's see, I should ideally only have this is not being used, I guess, which means these changes can also go away. OpenAI client. Okay, don't have changes here as well. Good. Final, the only changes I need in this file. This is an output panel feature. At this, do I need anything in package.json? Just actually formatted it. That's okay. I guess I'll add this. Add, put around panel to display content. This looks good. Quickly publish the branch, merge this, call it a day. I would have liked it if actually I was able to get the streaming thing working, because I was really hopeful about that today. I also have an extension here which allows me to create PRs right here from VS Code. Now look at this, merge it right away. Okay, so as I mentioned, now I have a clean setup where I can use my wrapper around the WebView panel to display content. I will be working on that in the next stream to format the output much better, and also possibly to start streaming responses from OpenAI. As I mentioned, I would need Node 18 installed for that. So I'll set about doing that right now. So hopefully in the next stream, that goes without any hiccups. So I'll be closing this